Absolutely, it can, and I'm very optimistic. We've been talking to the president's advisors about the type of proposals they'll include from his campaign tax cut, which was a very good tax cut proposal. It's going to focus on the pro-growth elements, reducing the rate for corporations and small businesses so that dramatic cuts in that rate will get us to growth potentially at 3 to 4% in the economy. And that is and a lot of jobs that get created along with that. I think that priority can absolutely happen this year, whether or not they get the health care bill done. My optimism is that we'll get both, but I think it's now time, and the president's signaling that, to start the real serious discussion about these deep and significant pro-growth tax cuts. There's also some other things in there that are very good pro-growth policy. The elimination of the death taxes, allowing immediate expensing for businesses of the cost as they add equipment and other.
Are you talking about a decrease in terms of the write-down, so that makes capital spending not a burden on the accountant sheet over what, 5 or 7 years, which it is now?
It's exactly what it would do. Well, now we'll have to see what the committees come up with. They tinker with it and put in timetables, but the idea that they're striving for is an immediate expensing of it, so an immediate write-down of that.
Well, that would be fantastic.
Energize the capital spending, which will create jobs, but also each time they do invest in new capital, that creates jobs as well. People have to operate the machinery and work in the factories.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget there are different ways that you can raise revenue. Some people think that what you can do is cut spending and you retain revenue. Other people think you raise taxes and you increase revenue. And we saw a lot of revenue increase over the Obama years, but we saw very little economic growth. Third most important way you can grow the economy and the spirit of a country is to grow the economy. If you right, David, you fire
You're
this
right.
booger up and we can go.
The biggest way to pay down the debt is to get to 3 to 4% growth rate and keep the brakes on the spending. You don't even have to do cuts; just don't allow the Washington increases. And that's a huge revenue increase to the government. We saw that back when I was in Congress, when we actually balanced the budget by cutting taxes in the late 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say, it happened under President Clinton. He was very fortunate to have, one, a lot of people don't realize and don't appreciate is he did manage to cut the size of federal government, but he also was the beneficiary of a massive explosion in technology, the internet boom, as it was known. And we actually achieved a balanced point during his administration. Yeah,
first time in almost 40 years.
I think that's what we need now. I'm tired of the bickering in Washington. I'm tired of the people I know who own businesses want to see it grow. They're optimistic that this can happen. They like to see the money repatriated from offshore and brought into the country. And this stuff, why hasn't it been done before? Why are we, you and I, now 100 days into the presidency, only now having this conversation?
I think there were a lot of things that got distracting along the way. One of them was the health care bill that the House came up with a bill that failed to repeal key parts of Obamacare. And you've seen a lot of foreign policy issues that have dominated the press as well. There are good things that have been happening in this first 100 days. The first time in a long time, really since 2000, Congress is using the Congressional Review Act to scale back and repeal Obamacare-era regulations that cost us jobs and hurt the economy. And the president had a great nominee for the Supreme Court in Neil Gorsuch.
Right.
But now's the time to have this serious conversation, as you were saying, Bill, about what the tax cut bill will look like and how to get it done this year.